The 2026 World Cup was meant to be the tournament where Vinícius Jr finally answered his harshest critics on football's biggest stage. For most of one night in Miami, that is exactly what he did. Yet between two superb goals came one flashpoint that left Brazilian fans, former players, and pundits sharply divided. So what really happened in the 22nd minute against Scotland? And why does that decision matter far beyond a single disallowed goal? The context mattered from the start. This was the third and final Group C match at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, and both teams arrived with something significant on the line. Brazil had already secured qualification for the new round of 32, but first place in the group was still at stake. Scotland, meanwhile, faced a far more fragile situation. They needed at least a point to all but secure a place in the knockout stages for the first time in their history. That possibility carried enormous weight. Despite decades of passionate support and a reputation for producing some of the game's most devoted travelling fans, Scotland had never progressed beyond the group stage at a Men's World Cup. Every previous qualification campaign had ended in disappointment, often by the narrowest margins. The expanded 2026 format, with its round of 32 and additional route through third-place qualification, had finally given Scotland a realistic chance to change that history. That made every moment against one of the tournament favourites feel even more charged. Brazil, under Carlo Ancelotti, came into the match powered by the resurgence of Vinícius Jr. Before Ancelotti's arrival, the Real Madrid forward had scored only 6 goals in 39 senior appearances for Brazil, a return that fueled persistent criticism about whether his club brilliance would ever translate consistently to international football. Under the Italian, that narrative changed quickly. Vinícius had already scored 7 times in 13 matches before this game, a dramatic shift that turned this fixture into more than a group stage contest. It became a stage for personal redemption as well as national ambition. Brazil struck early. In the 7th minute, Scotland defender Scott McKenna handed Vinícius an opening with a costly mistake. The Brazilian rounded Angus Gunn and finished calmly to make it 1-0. Then, in the 22nd minute, it looked as though he had struck again. This time it was Jack Hendry who hesitated deep in his own half. Vinícius pounced, won the ball, surged through on goal, and slotted past Gunn for what seemed a ruthless second goal born entirely from Scottish uncertainty at the back. But the celebrations were cut short. Mexican referee Cesar Ramos was sent to the monitor after a VAR review and ultimately ruled that Vinícius had fouled Hendry while winning possession. The goal was disallowed. The reaction was immediate. Replays showed Vinícius furious with the decision, gesturing angrily as he protested. In Brazil, many felt a perfectly legitimate pressing action had been punished. Elsewhere, opinions split quickly. On BBC coverage, commentator Steve Crossman called it a foul and said the right decision had been made. Former Scotland midfielder James McFadden took a similar view, admitting it was a huge let-off for Scotland but saying that if there was a foul, the officials were correct to intervene. Not everyone agreed. Former Brazil international Lucas Leiva argued the opposite in the studio, insisting it was simply excellent pressure from Vinícius and that Brazil should have been 2-0 ahead. Former Scotland captain Rachel Corsie offered perhaps the clearest explanation of why the incident became so contentious. The debate was not really about whether contact occurred, but about the sequence of that contact. The key question was whether Vinícius made contact with Hendry before he had truly won control of the ball. That tiny distinction, measured in fractions of a second, ended up deciding whether Brazil doubled their lead or Scotland survived a critical moment. That is exactly the kind of situation VAR was introduced to clarify, and exactly the kind of situation it still struggles to settle cleanly. Since its World Cup debut in 2018, the technology has promised to reduce game-changing mistakes. Instead, it has often shifted the controversy from what happened to when it happened. The timing of a touch, the point of contact, the smallest possible margin. This incident in Miami felt like another example of that unresolved tension between football's fluidity and the clinical still-frame logic of video review. What made this case especially compelling was the human weight around it. Scotland were clinging to a historic opportunity. Vinícius was trying to complete a personal transformation in a Brazil shirt. The stakes made the decision resonate far more deeply than a routine disallowed goal in an ordinary group stage match. In the end, Vinícius did not let the setback define his night. Just before half-time, he rose in the box and powered home a header that restored Brazil's 2-goal cushion with no room for doubt or replay. Vinícius Jr added a third after the break, sealing a comfortable 3-0 win that sent Brazil into the knockout stage as Group C winners. Afterward, Vinícius addressed the criticism that had followed him into the tournament. He said he always believed he would improve and show his talent for Brazil, and that he had been certain the right moment would come for him to shine in the national team shirt. He admitted there had been periods when he could not express his football the way he wanted, and described his current form as a relief. He also made clear that he believes there is more to come. His goal against Scotland secured more than just a win. By scoring in all 3 of Brazil's group stage matches, Vinícius became the first Brazilian to achieve that since Ronaldo and Rivaldo in 2002. Before them, only Jairzinho in 1970 and Romário in 1994 had done the same. In every one of those years, Brazil went on to win the World Cup. It is the kind of historical symmetry that supporters latch onto quickly. With 4 goals in the group stage, Vinícius also moved into elite company in the Golden Boot race, level with Kylian Mbappé and Erling Haaland, and trailing only Lionel Messi. Ancelotti, unsurprisingly, spoke with pride about the player's development, saying he had never doubted how far Vinícius could go and stressing how happy he now is playing for Brazil. That coach-player bond, forged through years of success at Real Madrid, has become one of the central stories of Brazil's tournament. Under Ancelotti, Vinícius looks not just freer, but fully trusted. For Scotland, the mood was naturally very different. Their manager admitted afterward that his side had likely benefited from the disallowed goal, while also conceding that they had been punished at poor moments against a team of clear quality. He praised the effort of his players but acknowledged the technical gap, and said the squad felt drained by the result even if their hopes were not yet dead. Those hopes now depend on results elsewhere. Scotland's path to history rests on whether they can finish among the 8 best third-place teams across the 12 groups. That uncertainty adds another layer to how the VAR decision will be remembered. If Scotland advance, the moment may be seen as a fortunate escape that kept their dream alive. If they fall short, it may linger as the instant that preserved belief when Brazil could have buried the match before half-time. That, ultimately, is why the decision still matters. Brazil won comfortably, so the incident did not alter the final result. But not every controversial call leaves its mark through the scoreline alone. Some live on because they capture a larger truth about the modern game. This was one of them, a split-second judgment, dissected frame by frame, carrying emotional consequences far beyond the replay itself. Brazil move on as Group C winners, with Vinícius in blistering form and Ancelotti's faith in him increasingly vindicated. Scotland are left to wait and hope. And the 22nd minute decision, whether viewed as a correct intervention or an overreach, has already become part of the tournament's growing file of VAR controversies. For Vinícius and Brazil, though, the biggest story is not the goal that was taken away. It is the one that counted, the form that keeps building, and the sense that a player once doubted in national colours is finally becoming the figure Brazil always believed he could be.